thank you for bearing with us while we've caught up on ourselves and some technical difficulties this morning. We have had a slight change to the schedule, and we've put our live Q&A with Sonia before her showcase piece, which you will be able to watch after this. If you do have any questions for Sonia, please post them in the Attendify chat and I'll pass them on. But first, let me welcome Sonia from Sonia Saberi Dance Company here. Thank you for joining us, Sonia. Could you tell us a little bit about your show, Same Same But Different?
Hi, Steffi, and thank you for NRTF for having me on and presenting an extract of Same Same But Different. Really pleased to be here virtually. So Same Same But Different is a family show which is catered for audiences around the age of 5, a little bit below, and of course above, and for grown-ups. And it's a show that brings together 3 dance styles: Kathak, hip hop, and contemporary dance. And there's lots of comedy, there is live music, there's beatboxing, there's rapping, and interesting use of props. So it's a real show about exploring one's identity, being curious about the unfamiliar, and reaching an appreciation of each one of us who is unique in their own way, and how one can be so blissful in enjoying each other's company, regardless of whether you're from similar experiences or not. And we've been very fortunate that our first couple of tours have been absolutely amazing, because it just strikes a chord with every age, every person of different experience, of different walks of life. And it's, like I said, it's a family show, but grown-ups have got so much out of it, as well as children who feel safe to ask questions, who feel that there is a show out there, chiming with some internal thoughts that they perhaps are shy or are unsure of questioning or even observing, or just placing out a statement. So I think it's a wonderful show, colourful show, which has such a deep and such a meaningful show.
Great, thank you. And can you tell us why is it important to you that this show tours rurally and into library and community settings, and not just black box theatres in urban areas?
Well, all the works at Sonia Saberi Company have always included different spaces, always been mindful of the work being created for spaces that are for main venues, black box theatres, right down to schools and libraries and rural venues. So it's the ethos of the company. It's not something that we do as a tick box exercise. When we created, or in the inception of Sonia Saberi Company, we wanted to take the art to people, not bring people to the arts, because we know for various reasons it's not possible sometimes to go and see work. So we've always wanted to create work, and have been, and that's why Sonia Saberi Company has been doing rural touring for, I think, nearly over 10 years now. So it's important for us to create work that is challenging, broadening perspectives, that's entertaining, that's meaningful, that's a voice for communities. It's not just about showing off our artistic qualities and the virtuosity, which all the dancers, the musicians that we work with, everyone is high caliber. And that's what we wanted to bring, is high quality arts to every young person, every mature person, every person who may feel that they're not even, in terms of accessibility, maybe geographically, or maybe if they're even in a wheelchair, if they're not able to get to art, we will make the art reach them. So it's very important. That Same Same But Different, which is our first family show, which is touring nationally, was to do the same thing. And we've already done a few rural shows as part of North Wall and Live and Local. We've already done a community library series I think it was in the city of Birmingham. And we are hoping now to take this show across libraries nationwide.
Lovely, thank you. And this show is such a great conversation starter. And as they were talking about in the panel before this, that often in library settings, you might get people that are hovering and watching in the background. So while it is a family show, it is a way of starting those conversations with all ages, as you said. So you mentioned that you've already done some library and rural touring with this show. What have you learned from that experience about library touring? And can you tell us a little bit from an artist's point of view of what the similarities are between library and rural touring?
Yes, it's first I have to say that we love touring in rural venues and the library settings, because it's about being in familiar spaces and unfamiliar spaces with people who we know perhaps can't sit for very long, yet people are there who are completely glued. So that whole array of experience is something that we really, really savor. Libraries, and like with some rural venues, limitation of space that sometimes is considered one of the key points for dance, and perhaps the quick get-ins and get-outs. There's perhaps less of lighting, if not no lighting, and sometimes not having the sound equipment for amplifying, let's say, the live instruments or the voices. But like I said, when we go into the studio, the first thing that I say to all my creative team is it's got to work for a school, it's got to work for a library, it's got to work for a village hall. And then it's almost like the icing on the cake. If we go to, or when we go to mainstream venues, then we can have the luscious lighting design and set design and all of that. The good thing about Same But Different is that it fits into 2 suitcases in terms of set and costume, and we take our own sound. And it's all so easy to set up. So the challenges are really based on how anyone who goes into the space creates those challenges for themselves. If knowing now, and as I've been sharing with lots of other dance companies, is that you've really got to celebrate the space for what it is. In some libraries, we had spaces which were just 3 meter by 3 meter, if that. And the dancers really just worked, we just re-choreographed some of the sections. There were other spaces where there wasn't a clear space. So we actually used almost like the book alleyways and created a kind of a processional performance, and had segments of the show in different corners of the library. So there was that element of the audience actually moving from space to space. And this show is interactive. Like with all of our shows, I have to say, it's live music, it's interactivity, so the audience gets involved. There's no spoken word, but the rhythms, as I said, the beatboxing, it's almost like we transcend spoken language. And we're offering relaxed performances. And again, I would say this whole ideology of relaxed performance is something quite new to me in terms of terminology. If I understand now what it is, we've been doing it for 20 years. We let people come in and out, we let them join. If they need to take space, they need to have a bit of a refresh, they can come back into the show. It's absolutely a problem with us. I think there has to be also a level of appreciation that all dance shows and all dance companies are not the same. And I think the beauty of the dance tradition that I come from, that I specialize in, and the way I've honed the collaborative tools and methodologies over the past few years is quite unique to Sonia Saberi Company, in that it is about, a dancer could be sitting beside you and you could be talking to them like a friend, or they could be like, the person next door, and then suddenly they'll get up and they'll do the most amazing thing. So that whole comfortability, should I say, or that idea of, gosh, anyone can get up and dance, or anyone can do something that makes them feel alive, is the experience I want to offer, regardless of whether we're in a theatre or we're in a school hall.
And that's one of the things about libraries, is that they are a democratic space. Anyone can access them. And you mentioned that your show doesn't include much spoken word. So again, it's there's no language barrier there for people as well, is there?
Not at all. Yep.
Could you, I've got a question from the audience. Venues are often nervous that their space might not be suitable. What can you say to reassure us?
It depends, because I think if it depends, I'd like to get a better understanding of what they feel is a suitable space for dance. In libraries, we performed on carpet, and if I was to really be strict about our work, it has to be ideally, I mean, I wouldn't even say highly sprung floor, which some contemporary dance companies would request. I just need a really clean floor, and if it was wooden, if it was uncarpeted, that's what we need. But we've been into libraries, we've been into schools where there's carpet. So we've just had to manage the space. You know, at the end of the day, my priority is to share the passion and the benefit and the impact and the attributes that dance and live music bring with them, and let us share that experience to the audiences. So, you know, we're very accommodating. Our whole team, I mean, we've got a brilliant team at Sonia Saberi Company who understand what it is about the work that what we want to say about the work and how we want to get the work out there. So we will be accommodating. So I'd firstly ask, you know, what do they understand by, oh, it's not fit for dance? We will make it happen. If there are spikes coming off the floor, and if, you know, there are spikes across the wall, I think that would be a detrimental feature for dance. But, you know, as long as one can sit there or one can walk through a space well and be safe, you can dance there, no problem.
It's about that process, isn't it, that we often say with rural touring, about the conversations happening between the promoters and the artists as soon as possible, to put everyone's mind at ease, because ultimately everyone's got the shared goal of being able to bring this art to their audiences. Could you tell us a little bit more about how that works with libraries, how it's different to working with rural touring, how perhaps if you've worked with a scheme in a library, that process has worked?
Yes. So we've been working with, as a pilot, we wanted to kind of test out same but different for libraries. And we worked with the communities libraries of Birmingham. And they were quite similar in the fact that they placed our work as a kind of a promoter's pack was created, sent out to the library workers, and there was a conversation around, again, accessibility, safety measures, what's kind of needed in a space. The conversation started, I would say, at least 6 to 8 months in advance, and then, you know, there was a key person who was talking to all the libraries. So we have 8 libraries that we're working with, and there was one key person who was in conversation on all of those. So I think the lead-in time, 6 to 8 months, was quite good for us, because it meant that wherever possible, I would go into the library and just kind of get a sense of what the space is like, and if there were any major adjustments in terms of choreography, then we can implement that in our rehearsal process. But generally, I felt, you know, they were so open, so accommodating. They just wanted the work to kind of sit in the right pretext for their audiences. The marketing was brilliant. So we provided the flyers and the posters, and, you know, they all went out across the visitors who come to the library, and then they had a little Facebook page. So I think it wasn't actually too different from how we have worked with rural promoters. I think it's just that level of enthusiasm and wanting the work in the space. I think that's always the yay or the nay part of any booking, is that if the promoter or if there's a team who wants to make something work, then everything is possible.
Great, thank you. And as well as the show, could you tell us about the additional workshops and wraparound activities that you're offering?
Yes, so we're really proud that we can offer such a large range of workshops, right from to just doing taster workshops to creating a curtain raiser. So if there is a group of, let's say there's a class of a school that want to have the workshop and then want to create something similar around the themes of being different, and when one is not feeling like they belong, or they want to be curious about other traditions, there is a whole there's a whole menu of themes that we can explore. And the good thing is that the performers who are in the show are the ones who lead the workshops wherever possible. And so that there's that added value of the children working with the performers who they see on stage. So there's always kind of that element of celebrity factor. Everyone wants to take a selfie with them, right through to making work or workshops that explore props. So in the show, we've got, you will see some duvet covers, there's ribbons, and there's the guitar, and there's these ankle bells that are very much part of the Kathak dance form. So we use some of those props, or it could be personal props from the children themselves, how to engage with that, how to have that relationship with that prop, which might be something very special, which might be something which is alien, or it might be something that they've never explored in a particular way. So there's whole of that element to the workshops. And also because it's quite theatrical, there's physical storytelling, or what we call as physical theatre, there's a narrative without words. So how does one do that? So there is just so much to it's almost like going into candy shop, and you can just pick and choose what you want in terms of the workshop. But it's all about engagement. It's all about the appreciation of dance and music and theatre storytelling, and how we can use everyday props such as the duvet covers. The duvet covers, every child goes under their duvets and they have this imaginary world. What does that imaginary world look like, and how can we bring that into our physical world? So there's lots of elements that are derived from children themselves, because before we made the show, we did a lot of research and development work, and we used children to help us understand what is their world like, what are their curiosities, what are their concerns, what are their worries, what do they really enjoy. And a lot of the teachers, when we went into the schools and did this R&Ds, a lot of the teachers said, oh, thank God you touched upon that, because we wouldn't know how to discuss it, because we don't know what is politically correct or not. So, there's a lot of undercurrents there that through the workshops, we're able to offer them a safe space of creativity, but also self-expression and understanding the world around them.
That's wonderful, thank you. So I have a question here from someone who is hoping to have the show in Gloucester Library next year. So how would you sell the show in 3 words? What's the most important part of the show you want to get across to the audience? And do you have any feedback or learnings about how promoting the show with libraries worked? That was a long one.
3 words. Entertaining, relevant, humorous. I'll have another one, 4, colourful. In terms of, sorry, what was the second part of the question?
And then what's the most important part of the show you want to get across to the audience?
So that it is, we shouldn't be fearful of not knowing. If there is something new, or where it's always about the other, isn't it? So when we don't understand the other, there's a bit of a curiosity, there's a bit of a uncertainty, there's even fear. So this show is all about celebrating our uniqueness and celebrating a space, celebrating a world that we all share. And we can realize through this show how we are so the same. Yet we have our little perks, and that's what makes such a wonderful world that we live in. Without it sounding twee, there are a lot of undercurrents in the show about difference and how it makes us feel, and in relation to objects as well. So the props that I was mentioning, there are certain culturally identifiable props, there are others which are not there, and how we explore the relationship with that, because we sometimes need literally our safety blanket to make us feel that we're secure, and it's a way for us to decipher the world. And when we go to the unknown, we can feel really lost. So this show is all about embracing, it's all about inclusivity, it's all about celebrating the world as it is and the country that it is. I have to say, you know, we do a lot of touring internationally, or we did before the lockdown. And, you know, Britain is so far ahead in celebrating diversity. And I think we really have to maintain, if not go above and beyond in celebrating how amazing this country is. I mean, I'm born and brought up here in Birmingham, and it's so diverse and so multicultural, and it's so rich. We have to celebrate the richness, and that's what Same But Different does.
Thank you. I think that's a really lovely note probably to wrap up on. I know there was another question about promoting the show with libraries, but I will post the contact details for your producer, Joe Valentine, into the chat, so that if anyone has any more questions or is interested in finding out more about the show, they can get in touch with her, and also obviously after they've watched the showcase video, which I think will only back up all the lovely things you've said about the show.
And can I just add also that the show is also part of the RTDI menu. So if people want to attain the value of the show and all the kind of the wraparound activity, please do contact RTDI. And also we are looking to put a national libraries tour together. So if there are libraries there, we are applying for funding. So please do let us know your expression of interest so that we can add you into that application. And we're very excited by it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sonia. We are now going to move on to the recorded showcase for Same But Different. We then have lunch, where you're welcome to use the chat facilities and the activity stream to network. And then this afternoon, we have some more fantastic showcases coming up for you, and the workshop. The workshop was fully booked in advance. If you secured a place for that workshop, you will have had an email with the direct Zoom link in. If unfortunately you didn't manage to make it into that workshop, there is a replay of last week's workshop, so you can watch that instead. And there's also a showcase from Live Talk that is all scheduled at the same time. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Sonia, for joining us. And that's it from us. Thanks.
Thank you.